welcome to Bats Coming Clean. I'm your host, Peggy the Enforcer.
And I'm Granny Lisa. Welcome.
Today we were supposed to have Kevin Day on, Senior Petty Officer Kevin Day from the U.S. Navy. I don't know what the holdup is. We haven't been able to get in touch with him, but we'll proceed anyway. How are you doing today, Granny?
I am doing so much better. Thank you. I am so excited. I watched his movie that he was in, A Tear in the Sky. Is
Yes.
that the proper title? And I was amazed. First off, I was taken aback because I only feel like we talk about it and nobody else does about the reason why you wanted to start this show was because our veterans see a lot of encounters, and just like with Kevin Day, there were others that were in that show. It's a documentary that were also Navy and experienced the same things in seeing the Tic Tacs and the other ship UAPs, but they talked about their PTSD. And Kevin at one point had talked about that he had really suffered for many years. And he was going to, I think, what was it, re-enlist, and he decided to get out.
Right.
And because his reputation was ruined, um, they did all kinds of mental things like, denying him and covering it up and saying he's basically a liar. This did not happen. And so when they had it in Congress and the pilots actually were showing the videotapes of the Tic Tacs, he had mentioned that after all these years of him suffering with a PTSD, depression, um, that he felt vindicated,
Right.
that he gained his reputation back. He said some of it's a little bit past due, but at least he's not considered a liar anymore, that his reputation is back.
It's
And,
way past due, Granny. There
oh,
have been so many in law enforcement, even I know, that have had the same thing happen to them because they talk about, well, I saw this and you report it. When in the military, you're told you have proper procedures to follow. If you see something, you're supposed to say something, and then to get ridiculed for it, it is not fun.
no. Well, and that was what really opened my eyes because there was three of them in
Right.
that documentary. And they were the one gentleman, I couldn't get his name, the bearded guy. Um, I mean, he literally, like Dave, had tears in his eyes because of the PTSD, and he couldn't have relationships. He became antisocial. All the signs of PTSD, he had that going on, and he never connected the two. And he said the only thing that he even turned to, he didn't care about anything. He didn't have any feelings, nothing. He was shut off. Well, those are all classic PTSD. But you don't hear, I didn't until you brought it up on starting this show, to give the veterans a place to come clean, tell their story without ridicule, judgment. And like I said, it was just shocking to hear these three men talking about it.
It's very shocking and it's disheartening, that they face what they face and they probably face threats from people as well for coming forward and speaking up about what they've seen. And
Well,
it's,
yeah.
they got nothing to gain by talking about what they've seen. But I understand they want to know what the truth is.
Well,
Explain to
yeah.
me what I saw. And I understand that. And there's a lot of people that have seen stuff that they can't explain, and nobody can give them answers. But if everybody starts coming forward and talking about what they've seen, then maybe we can all come together and piece the puzzle pieces together and figure it out. And people will start healing,
Yeah, because
realizing that they're not hurting each other intentionally. They're just reacting because they're in fight or flight mode constantly.
right. Well, and that was the other thing is that they were doing this documentary, and one of them were creating new machines to actually track the UAPs or the Tic Tacs. It was fascinating because all of them were not only vindicated on they weren't liars, because I think they all saw the Tic Tacs at different years out on the ocean there.
Yeah.
And it was so interesting to see these three bond and want to learn more about what they saw and how it is going to work in their lives. And that they are actually now, I don't know what you would call them, researchers?
No, if you researchers would be a good term for it. Yeah, I mean they're searching and they're researching through history to see if they can find anything similar to it or other experiences that are similar. And
Right.
that's another reason it's important for people to come forward and tell their stories, is so that we can get X number of people have seen this type of craft or this type of being or this type of thing going on, whatever it
Mm-hmm.
may be, and start figuring out what's really going on here. We've got some really interesting guests on the rest of this month. I don't know if you've looked at the lineup we've got.
No, I haven't actually. Maybe I have and I don't know it. I can't remember.
You can't remember? Well,
I
let me
do.
look real quick.
Okay,
So
yeah.
next week we have Amy coming on from Amy Studios. She does forensics analysis. She was in the military and law enforcement.
I remember you talking about her. Does she do that special on finding
From
uh
what I understand is you can send her a video and she can do analysis and find out if you're a targeted individual, which companies have your profile. Which it leads us to the next week. We'll have Joy Womack on, and she deals with targeted individuals. She got that added to the DSM-5, I believe it was. And then the following week, we'll have L.A. Dubay, who's a therapist
Yay!
and a friend of ours that'll be doing our leftovers with us.
Yes.
And then Halloween, we have Cheryl Costa, who's a fellow veteran. And I'm really looking forward to interviewing her. So we've got a
Now,
month already.
what does she do? I know she's a former veteran, but do we know what she's going to be talking about, or is it kind of like surprise?
Well, I've talked to her just a little bit about it, and I told her, well, it's going to be up to her. She is the guest after all. We can talk about what she's seen, or we can talk about the holiday itself, because she has studied multiple religions. And I think she'd be really qualified to talk about the holiday itself if that's what she wants. But like I said, it's going to be up to her since it's her show that day.
Right. Oh, that does sound good. Well, then yes, I have looked at the schedule. Now that you've said the names and what they're doing.
Now, with your leftovers, we got that coming up, don't we?
Yes, the leftovers is on episode 2, and it is titled "Would You?" No, would would
Woulda, coulda,
have,
shoulda, woulda, or
woulda, coulda,
shoulda.
shoulda, but I had to spell it out because I couldn't get the computer to put in the twang I wanted
That
or the
happens.
slang. Yeah, but it's going to be interesting because again, LA will be on, and we are going to talk about the intricates of um, what you go through and you miss the signs, and when you go back and look at it, because you have a lot of guilt And so it's going to be a good show, a good show. We're looking forward to it. And you are going to be there too. And so it's going to be four of us. It's going to be three veterans and the wife of a veteran who has, uh, he committed suicide 9 months ago. So it's still very fresh, very fresh.
Very,
So,
especially for the children.
yes. Well, we'll have, we got three, four, we'll have five because her son will be joining us. He's 16 years old. And tragically, he was the one that found his dad.
Yeah, it was.
And
I was doing that, producing the last show for you, Granny. It broke my heart to hear that. And he was so strong. I was so very proud of him, pulling himself together and coming back on.
yeah,
Being brave.
right. And that's the thing is that I don't, you like you created the show, I created that one because I don't think the veteran that's contemplating suicide realizes what they're leaving their significant others, wives, husbands, loved ones, children, the leftover stuff that they will have to deal with for the rest of their life.
I know
So,
the teasing
but,
and all that. You're right.
oh, yeah. Now, I have been a good girl because, I don't know anything about um, UFOs, UAPs. In fact, I don't even know what the difference is between them. And
UFOs is unidentified flying objects. UAPs is unidentified aerial phenomenon.
don't they mean the same thing?
One would think. I believe the UAP is more all encompassing because it includes unidentified aerial submersibles. I'm not sure. Would I be correct on that, Mike?
I believe what the deal is UAP is just an acronym they've come up with to publicly talk about UFOs without getting in trouble. Because historically, UFOs were used back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, and then even into the
Mhm.
80s. And I think the reason they stay away from that term is so they don't have to talk about the past and all the other stuff
Oh,
that's
okay.
happened. But it's the same thing. It's
Okay.
essentially referring to the same thing.
It
I
makes it
thought
So.
difficult
so.
when you research things and they change the names of things.
Right.
Right.
Well, like I said, a lot of it I think is political in origin. That way, when somebody, let's say, did a FOIA request and asking for UFO information, they wouldn't find it because it's under UAP. So that would be the reason you would do something like that.
Uh-huh. All that secrecy. Well, I have been doing and watching programs and getting all kinds of, I'm like, really? Wow. And so I thought maybe we could talk about a few of them because there are some questions that I have, such as when we talk about encounters. Now, isn't there like there's alien encounters, right?
Some call them extraterrestrials.
Okay, I can't say that word, so I'm going to stick with aliens. Then isn't there spirits? That starts with a P. Paranormal.
Paranormal, yes.
Okay, so then there's paranormal. What other ones are there that we would throw into those categories? I only figured out two.
I honestly don't know, Granny, because it depends on where you're looking, whether you're looking into mythology or legend, because then you have some have found evidence of fairies. There's evidence of giants.
Oh yeah,
What would
I've
they
seen that one. Yeah.
right? So when you start talking about all this other stuff, that would be, I guess, supernatural or
Oh, that's it. Yeah.
mythological. I don't know. It's all these labels make it very confusing.
Yeah. So when, how could I state this? Like with the giants, they have physical evidence,
Yes.
you know, but they have not said whether or not there's any alive. And yet you see pictures that look, I know fake, 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 but some of them look really real.
Yeah, they do.
And so, do we have anything?
Well,
Oh,
I've
here
heard
we go.
stories of there being giants in the desert.
Yeah, I didn't see what that comment was.
Let's see. J. Alec Hynek, scientists came up with the scale as follows. Heineken scale. Heineken devised a six-fold classification for UFO sightings. They
Slow
are
it
ranked
down.
according to increasing proximity, nocturnal lights, lights in the night sky, daylight disk, UFOs seen in the daytime, generally having discordial or oval shapes, radar visual UFO reports that have radar confirmation. These supposedly try to offer harder evidence that the objects are real, although radar propagation can be occasionally discredited due to atmospheric propagation anomalies.
That's true. I learned about that the water and the sun reflection, clouds can all distort things to make it look like it's a okay.
Pareidolia,
Yeah,
make it look like it's something it's not.
like
Right,
a mirage when you're driving down the road. Looks like there's water,
right.
different things, and when you get there, it's not.
Yeah.
It's just out of reach.
So it'll
So yeah,
be interesting to see what other countries come out with, because I know there's been a lot of talk about the UFO, the bodies that the Mexican government showed, and they're just
yes, that was real, and that one was really tiny, real tiny. I mean, it looked real tiny.
looked to be about the size of a child, about 3 feet. What they typically say that the ones they call are grays to be are in size. So I'm interested to see if they find any others. I've heard that there's things that look like reptiles or reptilians, and then there's things that look like praying mantises. Let's see.
Hey, Mike, can you leave them up a little bit longer? If I can't read them, and I'm a pretty fast reader.
So he's telling us that close encounters of the first kind, visual sightings of an unidentified flying object, seemingly less than 500 feet, 150 meters away, that show an appreciable angular extension and considerable detail. Close encounters of the second kind, a UFO event in which a physical effect is alleged. This can be interference in the functioning of a vehicle or electronic device, animals reacting, a physiological effects such as paralysis or heat and discomfort in the witness, or some physical trauma. Close encounters of the third kind, see also first contact, anthropology, UFO encounters in which an animated entity is present. These include humanoids, robots, and humans who seem to be occupants or pilots of a UFO. And then close encounters of the fourth kind. Close encounter of the fourth kind is a UFO event in which a human is abducted by a UFO or its occupants. This type was not included in Heineken's original close encounter scale. Heineken's former associate, Jacques Vallée, argued in the Journal of Scientific Exploration that the fourth kind should refer to cases when witnesses experienced a transformation of their sense of reality, to also include non-abduction cases were observed absurd, hallucinatory, or, well, he didn't put the rest.
Hmm.
It says, hang on a second.
Ah. Well, I have experienced seeing, I call it, I guess it would be a ball, but it was so beautiful, beautiful. It was big. It was multicolored and almost like on the movie, and Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Remember
Yeah.
those balls that were flying around and iridescent and all those pretty colors, floating? I saw that when I was a child, and it was the most beautiful thing. And I wasn't scared, no fear. I didn't feel. I had curiosity, loads of curiosity. And I was about 8 years old. And I just know that I was starting to, I had my hand outreached and I wanted to touch it or something. I wanted it. And my babysitter pulled me back. And when I turned around to see it again, it was gone. Just like
Just like
that.
that. Yeah.
Just like that. And so when I saw that movie as an adult, I was like, that's exactly it. Because before I would describe it as the Wizard of Oz, the good witch.
Right.
She would come in to see Dorothy in that ball of.
Light.
hmm So that was the only other place I could have explanation to other people of what I saw.
I've not seen one that close up. I've seen the balls of light that are about that big,
hmm
but then I've seen them in the sky. You know, I was Air Force, and part of what we have to do is know what birds in the air at any time given point. And so, yeah, I've seen things I can't explain that, like you said, that's just there and gone.
Right. And I don't know, have you heard of a podcaster? It's called Monkey Works.
No.
Oh, I sent you the address, Addie for it on Facebook.
Why?
Anyway, he's a veteran and he does all this. I don't even know what it's called, but he has a screen that shows all the flights, every kind of flight, military, and even some, but it's all regarding DOD, everything like that. It has, what do you call those non-people flying things?
Not
Drones.
drones.
It
Yes.
does drones. It does spy planes. It shows the borders of where spy planes are and then just disappear. Oh yeah,
Oh, really?
yeah. And so there's been a lot of activity going on, a lot. And um, and you know what happens when there's a lot of activity with nuclear movement?
Yeah.
Today is Russia's first ever nuclear test for, alarm for
Yeah.
its citizens. First one ever in the history that they are doing today. And then tomorrow, we are doing ours.
I didn't know about that, Granny.
Oh, yeah. You know how I found out?
How'd you find that out?
By watching his show.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I mean, he's intelligent. I think he worked in intelligence, but he definitely did something with the radar too, because he just, I have to look up the airplanes. Sometimes he'll put the airplane, what it looks like up on the screen, but it's really interesting. Like right now, there is a huge amount of movement in Alaska, huge on both sides. Also in Florida and Texas. Now get this. What was really interesting is that uh, England, UK, the king,
Yeah.
he has sent trainers to train the Ukraine on how to fly the F-16s that we sent over. And that was one of the things that Putin said, that if they learn how to fly those planes, that he's going to use nuclear.
That's not good.
No. So I'm thinking, and he also mentioned it, is if the UK gets hit with nuclear, then, the USA is going to back up, the UK. And all along the coastline, the UN has F-16s, ours, and military personnel. And what do you call those that you can take out nuclear, air?
Anti-aircraft missiles.
Thank you. All along the line of the borders. So they are getting ready. Getting ready.
That's not good, Granny.
But you know, when you have movement of your uh, nuclear, who comes very active? UFO sightings.
Yeah.
Because every time they are most active places are where our nuclear um, silos are.
Trying to tell us to wake up. We're being stupid little children. We're acting like toddlers here. This
Mhm.
planet, this planet, we only have one.
Oh yeah,
We only have one. Why are we treating it so horribly?
yeah, yeah. And so, I mean, we had seen, I think on TV, I did anyway, one of the officers here in Montana at the nuclear silo that the UFO was just outside the gate, parked just up in the sky at the gate, just standing there or flying there, stay out still, and all the nuclear, uh, what do you call those?
Silo.
Nuclear, no, the bombs itself, the
Missiles
nuclear, yes, missiles. All the nuclear missiles, the switchboard was turning them
and off.
and off, on and off, and they were like there was nothing they can do.
Nope.
But then the guards up above is ringing down, saying, "Well, what do you want us to do?" And so the commander says, "Well, if they cross over the gate, fire." And the guard just starts laughing and hangs up.
I don't blame the guard. I mean, if they can affect the equipment that way, do they really think our firepower will do anything to them? That
Right.
there's nothing we have.
No.
Nothing.
Right. And NORAD is trying to get in touch with them. There is no communications in or out. They just had complete control. So you know that they were just saying, like you said,
Just
you
tisk
think,
tisk. You're
you think
children,
that
naughty
you're so
children.
powerful,
Yep.
but look at what we do, and we don't even have to leave our aircraft.
No, they don't. And that's what amazes me. Well, and we were watching something the other night. It was on Netflix. It was a documentary, and it was showing. Oh, it was Encounters,
Oh, I
and
saw that one.
yeah, they were showing how after Fukushima and the other nuclear incidents, all the UFOs that showed up, and suddenly the radiation levels just. And it's like, well, they came in because they're like, tisk tisk tisk. If they hadn't come in,
Hmm.
more of the world would have been affected.
Yeah.
They're trying to tell us to wake up. This is the only place we've got, and all we have is each other. We need to quit fighting and
Hmm.
pretending that we are God, like the GMOs and all the other genetic bioengineered stuff's got to stop. It really
Right. And
has
it's
to
all
stop.
about money,
That's all
power,
it is.
and money.
Yes.
So I think that we're going to start hearing, I hope anyway, of a lot more encounters of sightings of, I'm old school, UFOs.
Well, I like to hear more counters of UAPs and other people's stories of what they've seen or encountered.
Exactly.
I've actually seen, there was a video years ago that was talking about stuff the Navy people have encountered. They've encountered mer people. I don't know what they are exactly, but there was,
Mermaids.
yeah, and they were talking about it was a hoax, but who's to say that they're a hoax? They could be real. There's stories out there for a reason. At one
Oh, yeah.
point or another, somebody saw something somewhere that looked like that.
Well, when just this in the movie, the documentary, they were saying that these tic tacs were going thousands of miles an hour into the sea, dropping, choop, 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 choop. And people have said that there is underground, under the water in the sea, uh, a base,
civilizations. Yeah.
yeah, a base of the UFOs. And that people have actually, while diving, have seen the ships go right up past them. Or they've gotten some kind of a warning that they were getting too close.
I've heard stories about that too. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's, well, it just reconfirms on Lisa, you just stay out of that ocean.
Oh, I don't go in the ocean.
I don't either. I mean, I did in Hawaii. I did, but that was mainly because I said I wasn't going to be. I was going to do something that my grandson, he loves the ocean and surfing, and my daughter does. All of them do, and so I said, okay, I'll do it. I'll go out there past where I can touch. And I did. And I got taken out by a wave. And I didn't know if I was up or down. And so people on the beach were ready to come in. Luckily, my daughter and her then boyfriend held on to me. And yeah, it
Good.
was, I mean, I survived, but I was literally out of breath. And I thought, wow. And that was the one warning my grandson said, never turn your back on the sea, on the ocean. And there was something else. He said, don't do that. I think that was it. Because he said, or you'll die. And that's exactly how he said it. You'll die. And I'm
Oh,
like, here I am out here, can't touch the bottom. You know, there's sharks, I'm sure, ready to go. Ooh, look at that juicy mama there. And I say, he's telling me if I did this, I'm going to die. Thanks, Kai.
did you have a
Thank-
life vest on?
No.
Great.
I didn't have diddly squat. Well, I had my bathing suit on.
I couldn't have gone that far out without a life vest on. Just
Oh, it was, well, I mean, I float. I got enough fat that it's really hard to sink me. I pop up. And, but when that wave,
the wave
it just
tumbled
keeps you
you.
circling underneath. It's like it just smashes you and keeps you there and moves you. It was, and that's why I stayed out of the ocean for so long, was because as a child that happened to me. And so, but I did go in many more times where I could touch. I did not go past where I couldn't touch. But my grandson was so proud of me, and I did accomplish what I set out to do. But yeah, can you imagine? What if one of those alien swimmers said, "Oh, look at that juicy mama.
Granny,
We could take her back and do all kinds of experiments on her.
They
Everybody will
wouldn't
think
do
they would think that she died and her body was swept out to sea, eaten by those sharks. And I would be down in the labs of the aliens.
people disappear every day from national forests.
What do you think of Sasquatch?
What about Sasquatch?
See, I think that he's real.
I believe he's real. I believe I saw one years ago when I lived in another part of Northwest Arkansas. It was up to the edge of the house where the roof line meets the edge of the house. It was that tall. And I was outside with my dogs. And when it roared, it was like the growl of a dog, but the roar of a lion, a bear, and a tiger all combined at once, and it rattled my bones. And the dogs literally tucked tail, whined, and came running inside.
Wow.
This thing was huge, Granny.
Did it look like a human face, or you couldn't tell?
It was too far off, but it was really giant, really big, and really hairy.
Did you smell anything?
I smelled skunky, you know,
Uh-huh.
kind of skunky.
Yeah. My Uncle Bob got a casting of a print of a
Mm.
big. He was in Oregon. That's where I'm from originally, and he was a logger, and he was way up there. And they had at one point um, had found the tracks, and so they cast him, and he brought one home. Yeah,
Oh wow.
it was huge, huge.
It's about
Yeah.
what, a foot long?
Well, I was a kid, so I had no sense of measurement. But if I can say, it had to have been like this big, and it was, it was cement. The casting,
Wow.
it was huge. Well, and it was, wide too. So yeah, I mean, I think it would be longer. It would probably be longer than the biggest NBA player
Well,
on,
absolutely that big.
feet.
Yeah.
And then we just had another question come up. Have either one of us seen a ghost?
Have either one of us seen a ghost? Well, you want to
I'm
go
gonna let
first?
you go first.
Ha. Define ghost as in somebody I know that's passed? Yes. Multiple times since I was little. My father's mother always told people I was born with the veil lifted. And since I was a little girl, at times, people that have passed, I've been able to see them. It's usually out of the corner of my eye or in a mirror or through glass that I see them. Very rarely is it straight on. What about you, Granny?
Um, no,
No.
no, I don't believe I have.
My
Now, have I been haunted? Yes, I have been. I don't know, harassed. Yes, wherever I moved, there would always, when I was a teenager, I did a lot of babysitting. So it didn't matter. I would have people knocking. I thought it was people knocking on the door, never any evidence, scraping the windows, um, throwing rocks. It was just this eerie thing. And then at one point, I was up in the mountains of Oregon babysitting, and I had the same thing. I'm like, there's no way anybody knows I'm here, or they're not going to waste their gas to
right.
come all the way up there. And so, yeah, I've been haunted. I don't know why. It was really kind of a strange thing. I don't know why. I don't even think haunting. I was harassed.
Michael, have you, honey? Since you asked the question, please see if we can add him to the stage. There he
I was
is.
trying to get my mic working. I did it at an early age to the point where it actually got me into investigations and stuff. Depending on the location, I've seen all kinds of weird things. So, I guess the most memorable one I remember, we were at a place up in Virginia, me and some other colleagues, and you could actually see it was like a shadow, smoky figure down at the end of the hallway. And it was like I think it was the second floor of this building. And he seemed to always be at that end of the building, and you literally could feel it when he showed up. It was just the most intense, malevolent feeling I've ever felt. But outside of that, I've seen like ribbons, balls of light. You know, every once in a while you catch like, especially where we were, you would catch like the back silhouette of a person walking by or something, like you were seeing the shadow of somebody there, but they weren't there. Um, my gosh. There's all kinds of instances, but it was main question was to you guys because I've never heard you guys talk about it. It's the reason I brought it up.
No, I just been harassed, which I don't know. Why would you've been an
Well, now
investigator?
trickster entities, that sounds like a trickster or a poltergeist from what you're describing, because
I would
what it
rather
does,
be
it
a
literally
trickster.
follows. Well, it's kind of the same thing, actually. It's just one's German and one's American Indian. So you take your pick, whichever one you feel better about. You can pick a name.
The American
And pretty
Indian.
much, okay, well, that's a trickster. So coyote
Coyote
spirit.
is what they usually call them. Yes,
The what?
So
coyote is what you'll hear people call coyote messing with you.
coyote spirit. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That
So-
actually makes sense. Okay.
But the interesting thing, I was reading an article from the Rhine Institute they had on poltergeist. I forget what issue it was, but the interesting thing was the poltergeist activity was surrounding one individual and would follow them around and randomly do its thing. And it always did it in a counterclockwise fashion if you were looking down on the person. So, like, say you had all this stuff in a room, right? And the individual that was being haunted, as it were, stuff would start moving in the room. Well, they had everything labeled, position, and everything, and they discovered over time that what's happening is the energy from the person is actually interacting with the environment and producing those effects. So if you were, for instance, scared about being there by yourself and protecting a child, you may hear scraping and knocking on a door and craziness.
Yeah. Because nothing ever came inside.
Right.
You know, and the thing was is that sometimes my best friend was there. And we would
Yep.
be like, we would
It's
go
like a phantom.
outside. Yeah. And
Yeah.
we could not figure out, you know, oh my gosh. Okay.
Well, the interesting thing towards the end of me doing any investigation work at all, we started coming across cases where we were finding evidence of tulpas. Tulpas are, by definition, a self-created ghost.
What is it, Granny?
There's a big old yellow jacket in here. And it's right there on the curtain.
It's not bothering
Well,
anybody. You'll be okay.
You'll be okay. But anyway, the tulpas, by definition, are self-created, and it's usually because it's unresolved trauma or whatever that you've got in your head. And what happens is over time, after you've trapped that emotion long enough, it actually projects out of the person and creates, it's like it splits off from you and creates a ghost. And it'll mess with you. So, and actually, Peggy was there during one investigation where we came across the tulpa effect.
Yeah.
Well, isn't
So we
that
can't name
similar
names or
to-
where it was, but
Isn't that similar to what Sharna was, Dr. Sharna was talking about? Is that what you project is what comes back to you?
Yeah. The mirror effect. Yeah.
well, and in extreme cases of unresolved issues and those trapped emotions, and you having expectations of not being worthy of being treated any better, and everybody's treating you well, then all of a sudden a ghost pops in and starts giving you grief because you're expecting grief, but nobody's giving you grief
So something
like you're
shows up
expecting.
to give you a grief. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's all a projection of the mind.
Well, I suppose that it really works well with the
And
people that have
from
mental
what we've
issues.
been learning from some Buddhist meditation teachers is evidently, I'm thinking almost 100% of things are projections from us, from what they're saying, as far as ghosts and demons and all this other stuff.
Well, is that carried over from, because I know a lot of people believe in past lives.
I'm not sure. I hadn't got deep enough into the study yet to understand how everything's interconnected. I do know that they were talking about a lot of things that you experience are actually delusional. That's because it's what you're experiencing from your own filter that you've got in your head.
Mm.
And so regardless everybody's seeing something different even if they're looking at the same thing. The one thing I haven't had a chance to get into discussion with, and I've got to find my files, but there's an experiment that was run in this haunted location where they knew for a fact this ball of light shows up. They set up 3 cameras, different angles, and they all set up to like start snapping pictures when this thing pops in. One camera captures a mist, one captures a ball of light, and the other camera doesn't see anything, which is physically impossible because they're all working cameras. They all should be seeing the same exact thing because they all work the same. They don't have a belief system, yet all 3 cameras picked up something different.
That's kind of weird. Does that mean maybe it's because you hear a lot about dimensions?
I don't know that it's dimensional as much as it's how, there was a physicist I was reading years back that was talking about reality actually acts like foam on the top of boiling water
It's very malleable.
and very malleable.
Okay, what is
Which
that?
that
word mean?
means if there's, well, what I'm getting at is the experiment, there was nobody in the room when these cameras start going off because they detected something was there. There's no observer in the room. So the cameras are seeing every version possible that could possibly be. Whereas if there was a person in the room, all the cameras would probably see the exact same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're affecting reality with your own consciousness.
Right.
Which is the same reason when you go on ghost investigations and stuff, depending on the team you've got, that's why it's so important that everybody's grounded and really have control of their thoughts, because if you get everybody in the group wound tight and believing something, 10 to 1, the environment's going to respond and give you exactly what you're expecting.
I've watched
Instead of you
a
just
couple
being
of
an
those.
observer. Right. And you see it time and time again where they sit there and they have expectations of a demon being somewhere, and guess what shows up every time.
Yeah.
And that's why they make good TV series.
I don't know that so much. I'm just saying I think a lot of people haven't looked at the consciousness route as far as how much you really do affect your environment just by you being there alone. Being there, you're affecting the environment. You get into quantum physics and you find out real quick that is a real effect, that it does affect the instrumentation and the way they measure. So they have to make sure they do things under really tight protocols to even get a good observation of something happening. So, but
Right.
I think the paranormal community is starting to wake up to all that.
Yeah, because that's a lot of the shows that I've seen too, is because I'm trying to learn, and like the different types of aliens. Oh my gosh. Although the ones I'm really interested in is probably the worst of them. That's the lizard ones.
Just a second. Right. Let me get something real quick. I'm going to get a link for you.
Mm-hmm.
It's, I believe it's Encyclopedia. Let's see here.
So no show prevents chatting with Granny Lisa tomorrow, correct?
Oh, correct.
Okay.
Yes, because I have Thursday and Friday, and then next week I have a few shows. I'm doing the promotion of my co-authors on the book Leave No Veteran Behind, and I am chapter 8. Woohoo! I am published. Yay!
I saw the billboard sign that you put up.
Oh yes, we had the New York Times Square, that big old screen, the Tron or whatever you call it.
Megatron, yes.
Which is impossibly hard to get on. And there was my name up in lights. Yes.
It was beautiful, Granny.
That's cool.
It was so
Excited for you.
exciting. Yeah, and then I'm working towards going to New York. I'm going to have a meeting with one of the producers and get the details because I have a whole lot of questions.
Right.
And but they're going to have another big deal in going to New York, and it'll be in December. And then we'll do two times at Times Square, watching the Tron again, and just we'll have a gala, red carpet, and there'll be some kind of a show. I don't know. And it's just got all kinds of activities, but mainly you will be um, talking with others that they influence your career, writing career or podcasting career. Yeah. So I'm really looking forward to getting information and learning and seeing how we can grow and be more effective in reaching our goals with our veterans, and not just veterans, but anybody that's you know uh, has seen something.
Right.
We have people that aren't military that come on the show, but they've got some kind of
Experience in their career fields, their expertise, so they're veterans
right,
in independent careers.
and
Yeah.
dealing with the veterans with
Right.
their
Or they're
specialty.
veterans and dealing with whatever their career is. Right.
Hmm. So it's really, I think it'll be beneficial to be able to go.
Hey,
Yeah.
ladies, guess what?
Yes, what?
So, I guess it 2 weeks ago, honey, that you put out there to any local musicians or songwriters to contact us and we'd feature them
Yes.
in a commercial. And I was thinking tonight what we could do on the show closing is I could go ahead and play what Tommy Myers has sent us. He's from Northwest Arkansas. He's a songwriter. And if anybody wants to get in contact with him, just holler at us through our submissions email address. All you have to do is go to our website at vetscomingclean.com and go over to contact us and let us know you want to talk to him. And we'll forward your information and you guys can get in contact and he can help you out. Other than that, any other musicians or songwriters out there that would like to have your stuff featured at the end or at the halfway mark of the show, just make sure you go over to the contact us page and put in your information and we will try to get you up there as soon as possible.
Ooh, cool. Yeah, I know that you guys have been putting up, because I don't do computers. So Mike is our IT guy / producer. Peggy is our podcaster / producer. And then I'm just the podcaster. And so you have been actually putting up other veterans organizations.
Yes.
I've been noticing. And so, especially the one that we all liked, and they were great, and they have a great program. So, thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, that's no problem.
And
Well,
what's
ladies?
going on I have one question. What's going on with your newsletter?
Oh, we've got to get some articles together. I've already got the comic strip to put in it. That's not a problem. What I'm thinking, perhaps we're going to get that out this week. Hopefully here in a couple of days.
I'm so
So,
excited.
yeah, and if anybody wants to get our newsletter, all you have to do is go to the website. There's a place on there that says subscribe, and you can opt out of it later if you don't want it. But, the main thing is you can subscribe there. We'll send a newsletter out as we can. What we want to do is either get it to a monthly place or a quarterly place. We haven't figured that out yet, life and everything and having work. So, but as it comes along, we're going to figure this out, get everything smooth.
We're learning everything as we go, so bear with us,
Yeah.
everyone. It'll get better.
And
we're
we'll hear.
definitely
I'm
real.
pretty sure we're going to hear from Kevin Day eventually to see what's going on here. I think we had a time zone issue
I
is
bet you
what's
it
happened.
was.
Probably.
That's
So,
that's
If
always
you-
what messes up a lot of people on Showtime.
oh, I know. Okay. Well, ladies, you guys have a good night, and I'm going to go ahead and start this video that I made for Tommy Meyer, and it's actually his audio track of him singing the song he wrote.
Awesome.
Thank you, Tommy, for your submission, everyone. Have a good night. Remember
Have
to
a
like
great
and
night.
subscribe.
Take care, guys.
Thank you.
Where are you? What can I do? I know you're somewhere near. I made you a promise I'd be here. I hold your hand, I don't understand how life could be undone. But I know how different you become. Even though you're sitting next to me, I don't know where you are. I hope and pray you'll come back to me. I'm hoping that you haven't gone too far. Everything you've given me, you gave me from the start. Honey, I love you from my heart. I'll be true and there for you, and always by your side. The good Lord only knows how hard I've tried. Please believe I'll never leave as long as I'm alive. The two of us together, we'll survive. Even though you're sitting next to me, I don't know where you are. I hope and pray you'll come back to me. I'm hoping that you haven't gone too far. Everything you've given me, you gave me from the start. Honey, I love you from my heart. Honey, I love you